Mythical Pokemon are known for showing up last minute and surprising you in new ways. A lot hard to surprise with a new form that lets you see them from a mile away, but there are many well-made Pokemon in this category that have what it takes to star in the new Sword and Shield expansion. We haven't seen when Gigantamax Melmetal will be released just yet, or if it'll have its own special place to go with it in the new DLC. But with a ton of legendary Pokemon being revealed to come back in the DLC, and most mythical Pokemon not yet being shown, and usually given as a gift, we decided to go through the 10 mythical Pokemon that could be seen appearing even just as an event with new forms, and which would suit the new game's expansion incredibly well. Welcome to the top 10 new mythical Gigantamax Forms for the Pokemon Sword and Shield expansion. Special thanks to Frag Pro Shooter for sponsoring this video. Frag Pro Shooter is specifically designed for mobile devices and the best shooter game of 2020 with more than 30 million players. The rules are simple. See the enemy's bunker, destroy it as quickly as you can, and once you get through those two, you'll be able to access the tower to destroy it and win. With more than 80 characters to choose from and collect, each with their own unique gameplay and specific power and role, you can build a team of 5 of your favorite characters around your own strategies. During the game, you'll control one character, and the other 4 are controlled by bots that allow you to switch between them when you want. You can also choose between third-person shooter and first-person shooter modes. There's also a new 2v2 mode so you can build a team with one of your friends or a random partner and go against 2 other players. You can choose 3 characters out of your deck while your partner chooses another 3. There are also free rewards that are available to you in this game, only thanks to the link in the description. So click on that to join in on playing Frag Pro Shooter, and thanks to them for sponsoring us. On with the video. Number 10. Victini. Victini is a great looking Pokemon for this type of form that is also well known for its cute look and real go-getter attitude that has it jumping in front of its region's Pokedex before the starters just to display how ahead of its time it really is. Smaller Pokemon can usually have a bit of a tough time in the design department for Gigantamax forms, but even if Victini was just a sleeker, only slightly changed version of itself, but with 2 crossing circles of fire and an X in front of it like the Mega Evolution Aura, then that could be a great way to get this little floating fire rabbit another victory as one of the only other mythical Gigantamax Pokemon there is, and being one of the best small Pokemon Gigantamax forms. Eevee grew its neckbeard, Pikachu got so much attention it didn't need to take care of itself anymore, and Meowth's frequent use of Payday created its own inflation. So Victini can really round out the group with a fired up form circling around it. You can just take those wings on its legs and burst them into flames and make them even bigger to have a well received V-flame coming from its back, and bulking up its limbs or making them longer a bit to match. But that circle of flames around the psychic fire type feels like a great little ball to have around it, and the X is a little further up in the alphabet, so if we're getting bigger, might as well go into even more late game letters too. Also giving it the G-Max move, X fired. Really, its G-Max move would end up being V-Slash with a Fire Blade, but the little vision showing Macaroon Lover only needs very minimal optimizations in its design to sport a good-looking Gigantamax form, and that sort of standout first spot in the Pokedex besides starters could also lead to it being one of those Pokemon that stands out from the crowd and would be in line for a consideration of the new forms for the DLC. Number 9. Koopa. We're really adding in a form to Koopa to make it have a sort of pseudo 3 stages of evolution. You can go from Confined to Unbound into Gigantamax Koopa Unbound. That's 3 completely different sizes, might as well be a whole line. It would be a really cool Pokemon to just have explode into a towering angry magician with its arms going into its sides and shooting out, as well as having more tricks than just juggling rings. A top hat? Maybe a saw? What about cards? Pick a card, any card. The Ace of Hearts? Perfect, that can go right in that hole in his chest. Just an eerier version with those usual blacked out eyes and slower movement could make this psychic dark Pokemon known as a more possessed magic user in this type of form. Even little intricate additions like giving it arms to attach to its hands that retract and detract from its side holes could make a unique Pokemon with that very personality-focused presentation that a pop-up mythical Pokemon like this can really show off in a new form like Gigantamax forms. Number 8. Jirachi. I did say the smaller Pokemon are a bit tougher to design as a Gigantamax form for Pokemon, but the best part would be if Jirachi gets bigger, so do the wishes that are granted. Same as Victini getting its own personalized fire cage, Jirachi could just have a big star as its main focus, having it hide behind that and floating on top to focus on that shy look it has. Maybe having it gripping a big yellow star like Kirby could be its tiny Pokemon Gigantamax feature. Just a big star with Jirachi having little color changes and sleeker steel features to make the wish of a new mythical Gigantamax Pokemon come to life. I'm sure Masuda and Sakurai had a coffee together at least once, at like a cat cafe or a maid cafe, so a little pink blush Jirachi with a giant star could be a cool reference. Riding on it, juggling it, Jirachi can do many things with our hopes and dreams. Jirachi could also just have a longer and more angelic body, where its head is the same, but its body is a bit longer to make it a slightly more humanoid looking Pokemon like it grew up. Could be similar to that one Yu-Gi-Oh duel, having it go from floating green Jigglypuff to human girl fairy, but more animated and nicely toned to make a decent growing form for Jirachi from the cute, almost baby-looking Pokemon to a more stern, serenading wish granter. Number 7. Volcanion. Volcanion is a really interesting mythical Pokemon for this type of form, and in general actually, as it does have a lot of interesting perks in its design to really focus on, and is usually an overseen Pokemon that isn't talked about too much. Parts like its pipe layout portal ring connecting to its volcano back production facility could really be upgraded into a gigantic mega portal that summons crazy beams directly at the opponent. Having it glow up into a long-armed and leg Pokemon like its plumbing system was reworked, and now has longer gray pieces connecting to its legs, as well as Gigantamax in the portals to be even bigger to create a G-Max move Steam Beam that shoots out a powerful attack, would be a great way of highlighting the parts of this Pokemon that make it unique. Something like G-Max Exhalation Portal could be its move, and let it attack with that fire-water combo only it has. Gotta say I've never looked at its head so closely as this is the first time I ever had it on a list, but its head kind of looks like an old man from Cats. It wouldn't be too bad of a Pokemon that has a completely different change too, where it becomes that fun thing we get to see Pokemon turn into, going from 4 feet to 2, and crosses its arms to look like the cover of a bootleg copy DVD you get from a really sketchy mall where they confuse Iron Man and the Iron Giant and have to make their own Photoshop box art. It'd be good. That'd also be a very good crossover movie, but that look Volcanion has really suits a bipedal mecha form, with that back half circle being able to move from facing back to above its head while it's standing. It would also work in how well-known Generation 6's mythical Pokemon are for their form changes, and with Volcanion sort of being in a pseudo-mythical trio where it's at the end of the Pokedex with the other two beside one another, it would be able to get a form since it's the only one lacking one. That would also make it the region with 3 completely different form changes for every mythical Pokemon, and would make a really good trifecta of Pokemon that change in completely different ways. Number 6. Marsh Shadow. If someone needs a form, it has to be at least one of the Pokemon with a very blank stare. You look at it and it's just nothing. You could throw paper balls at it and it wouldn't flinch until you turned around and it starts writing strongly worded comments. My idea for this Pokemon would be mostly focus on the little trail of shadow at its feet. Instead of changing Marsh Shadow, we keep it exactly the same, but its Gigantamax form is a giant shadow behind it, trailing from the back like the Ghost Sprite before you get a Sylph Scope. Except as Machamp. Just have it standing there blankly, maybe even knocked out on the ground, where from behind, its shadow looms over as this towering demon that looks like if Giraffrig's butt grew 3 sizes that day, and its Chain Chomp tail became its own giant Pokemon standing above it facing forward. The Marsh Shadow form can look the same, but as a more adult version, similar to Jirachi growing up, but much more angered and haunting, and would make a great base for a smaller Pokemon to be seen growing into a Gigantamax form Pokemon. Thinking about it now, maybe it's Marsh Shadow standing there with its shadow now as a combination of it and Gigantamax Meowth. Longer legs though, but towering like that, hunching over, ready to attack the opponent in its pure shadow Gigantamax form. Number 5. Keldeo. When you've got a group of 4 and you're the smallest one, it has to be fitting to see that small one grow into a more adult-looking bigger form. Keldeo does look great and have that unicorn swordfish horn, so the main focus would be styling it to look like an older Pokemon. A larger, bulkier form, something like a legendary Zebstrika form, but with Keldeo's color style and look. The confident look Zebstrika radiates would go really well into Keldeo, and sizing it up to be more like that, among the other Sword of Justice groupies, works out well for a temporary larger form. Keldeo could have this new charged up version like when characters find their new suits and powers and happily jump around after evolving. Number 4. Deoxys. As one of the only mythical Pokemon that has a main story quest in the games, Deoxys as a Gigantamax Pokemon is not only something a lot of us would like to see, it's also something that would be so great in its reception and something an amazing Pokemon like this could pull off well. It would be cool to have a specialized Gigantamax version for each form, but another one Gigantamax for multiple form Pokemon like Toxtricity would probably be the more likely event. You can keep the stats the same for whichever form your Deoxys is in, but take the best parts of each form and put them all into one to show off the greatness it could be. Those normal form DNA arms that are fitting for its species, that sleek attack form head, that bulk torso from the defensive form, and those sleeked up legs from the speed form because it got tired of leg day and was naturally speedy. Could also work in some colorful designs like some orange decals on its gray space legs, but many great combinations could come together from these 4 forms into one Gigantamax Pokemon with a G-Max move called DNA Splice. Number 3. Genesect. It's always the robotic looking Pokemon that feel like they could just make such an amazing mechanical monster for a Gigantamax. Melmetal already has that lean sleeked up look, so making Genesect be a 4-wheeler tank or a stationary grounded large turret for its back launcher would look good. While those would be fun seeing it go on all 4s, that longer limb Pokemon as another metal giant and a gigantic smile looming at you from afar could be a great go-to decision. It has such a good base and would feel and look to be a combination of 2 of my favorite Gigantamax forms with Toxtricity, the sly smile and ready to jump look, alongside Melmetal, with a drastic change from its original form to a nicely tended, menacing robot fighter that actually has a good heart once you get to know it after it's stepped on your entire village. Gigantamax Genesect can be toned up really well, and I'd love to see that canon highlighted in this new type of form for the expansion. Number 2. Darkrai. We did talk about the possibility of Cresselia getting a regional form, so countering that with a Gigantamax Darkrai could be the real integrated play of another battle of dreams and nightmares. The difference in form types would also play into the mythical and legendary pairing of their duo. Cresselia could turn into a normal psychic type, could show us a more humble dream look, and Gigantamax Darkrai could show us our nightmares actually can get bigger. Luckily, a Gigantamax forms only last a few turns, so positivity prevails there, but another melodramatic looking darkened Gigantamax form would work wonders. The dead shock look of Gigantamax Lapras, with a dark aura that has the same feeling of that surrounding Parashong Lapras has, is what could be used on Darkrai. I think this is another mythical Pokemon stretching that would be done well when it Gigantamaxes, where all of it gets longer, still having that wandering look, now with glaring blank eyes, hanging arms to be an even creepier Pokemon, and maybe get some legs. Darkrai with legs would be such a huge chance for this Pokemon to really make it an even scarier Grim Reaper. Its bottom half just getting longer could also work, but those legs and seeing it dance in some nightmarish incantations would really shock the crowd when they see it form up. With how snowed in the Crown Tundra looks, and with Calyrex being a vision-holding Pokemon, a nightmare Pokemon just looks to be fitting for this region, and would be an amazing story addition if it were to get bigger, just as a subtle nod to the frozen area and how melancholic it looks. Number 1. Arceus. If there's one mythical Pokemon that would take on the aura of a Gigantamax Pokemon to the best it could be, it would be Arceus. Imagine this veil, but instead of a purple glaze, it's light. Could also be purple darkness if it's holding a dark plate though, and even be color coordinated with each plate. Speaking of plates, if it were to hold one, we could make another surrounding Mega Evolution circle with the plates surrounding Gigantamax Arceus instead of unknowns. It's really about the little tweaks that can be made onto this amazing looking mythical Pokemon, and smoothing out parts of its look in a form that makes it tower over anyone else. It could be fitting to be the biggest Gigantamax Pokemon there is, with a space-focused design and a confident head held high, and added decals on its body to deck it out and splurge on the design this Pokemon's base look could be given, possibly even more armor. It could also make up for the lack of accessible events this Pokemon had in the game, and the expansion would be an amazing place to see it brought in. The second DLC with the Crown Tundra just looks like a location made for a little more Arceus, and just seeing this kind of Pokemon designed into a new form like this, showing it as a huge power fiend, would make it not only a fitting look for the second half of the expansion, but also a major contender for the best mythical Gigantamax Pokemon, and the best Gigantamax Pokemon there could be.